As the deepest slumber begins to recede, and the world prepares for the quiet awakening of a new day, the sky above the medieval countryside slowly begins to lighten. The pre-dawn hush, deep and pervasive, yields to the faintest whisper of movement, the softest touch of burgeoning light. A tapestry of muted hues unfolds across the horizon, promising the arrival of the sun, yet still embracing the gentle calm of night's lingering embrace. This is a time of gentle transition, a liminal space between the quiet stillness of darkness and the slow emergence of light. In this tranquil corner of the world, far removed from the clamor of bustling towns, lives a man whose existence is intimately woven into the very fabric of nature's rhythms. His name is Thomas. He is a beekeeper, a guardian of the winged architects of sweetness, a quiet observer of one of life's most intricate and ancient partnerships. His cottage, simple and sturdy, reflects the straightforward nature of his days, defined not by the urgent demands of men, but by the steady, unyielding cycles of the seasons, the silent blossoming of flowers, and the industrious hum of his cherished bees. Here, within these walls, life unfolds at a pace dictated by the gentle turning of the earth, by the gradual ascent of the sun, and by the tiny, tireless lives he oversees. The medieval world was a realm of profound connection to the land. Every harvest, every creature, every plant held significance. And amongst these myriad relationships, few were as vital, as deeply intertwined with the daily fabric of existence, as that between humanity and the honeybee. Before the widespread cultivation of sugarcane, before the global trade routes brought exotic sweeteners to every table, honey was the primary source of sweetness, a precious commodity, a taste of nature's bounty. But the bee offered far more than just sweetness. Its gifts were manifold. The golden honey, beyond its culinary delight, was a revered ingredient in medicine, believed to possess healing properties, a balm for ailments, a tonic for strength. It was fermented into mead, the golden drink of celebration and solace, a beverage deeply rooted in ancient traditions. And then there was the beeswax, a silent, unsung hero of medieval life. Beeswax provided the purest, longest-burning light, illuminating churches, monasteries, and homes. Its gentle flame cast a warm, steady glow, pushing back the encroaching shadows of the night, a stark contrast to the smoky, sputtering flicker of animal fat tallow. Beyond the practical, there was a quiet, almost spiritual reverence for the honeybee. It was seen as a creature of purity, of industry, of divine order. Its complex society, its meticulous organization, its unwavering dedication to collective well-being offered lessons for human society. Monasteries, in particular, often maintained extensive apiaries, understanding the bee's vital role in both sustenance and contemplation. The quiet hum of the bees became a natural counterpoint to the chants of the monks, a living testament to the divine hand in creation. The heart of Thomas's livelihood, the very core of his silent world, lay within these unassuming structures, the skeps. These bell-shaped baskets, patiently woven from straw or wicker, coated often with a protective layer of clay and cow dung, were the standard domicile for honeybee colonies across much of medieval Europe. Simple in their construction, yet perfectly suited to the needs of the bees, these skeps provided warmth in winter and a measure of coolness in summer. Unlike the more advanced wooden frame hives that would appear much later, allowing for easy inspection and honey removal without destroying the comb, the skep demanded a more intimate, perhaps more patient, relationship with its inhabitants. Within these woven walls, a miniature kingdom flourished. Thousands of worker bees, their lives a ceaseless cycle of foraging, nursing, and building. A handful of drones, the male bees existing solely for the purpose of mating. And at the heart of it all, the queen, the single mother of the entire colony, the silent orchestrator of their industrious lives. Each skep was a universe of synchronized activity, a testament to the power of collective effort, a miniature marvel of natural engineering. Thomas, our beekeeper, understood this intricate world. He knew that his role was not to control, but to guide. Not to command, but to understand and support. His day, and indeed his life, would unfold in silent dialogue with these tiny winged creatures. And so, as the first rays of true sunlight begin to paint the world in warmer tones, Thomas prepares to step into this delicate partnership. The air is cool, fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and awakening blossoms. The distant sounds of the village are still hushed, leaving only the quiet symphony of the natural world. Soon, the gentle hum of the bees will rise, a steady thrum that signals the beginning of their day, and thus the beginning of his own. With the full light of morning now gently embracing the landscape, Thomas embarks upon the first quiet rituals of his beekeeping day. His movements are unhurried, imbued with the quiet confidence of long practice. Every gesture is deliberate, every action serving a specific purpose in his ancient craft. The first tool he prepares is the smoker, an essential companion to any beekeeper, whether in the distant past or the present day. This simple device, crafted perhaps from a tin bucket and a leather bellow, or even a more rudimentary clay pot, is filled not with fire, but with smoldering embers and carefully chosen fuels. He selects his fuel with care. Dried leaves gathered from the previous autumn, small slivers of rotten wood that smolder gently, perhaps even a handful of dried herbs from his garden lavender, chamomile, or thyme for their calming aroma. The smoke produced is not meant to harm, nor even to truly drive the bees away. Instead, it serves as a gentle, almost hypnotic message. When bees sense smoke, their ancient instinct tells them of a potential forest fire. Their immediate reaction is to gorge themselves on honey, filling their stomachs in preparation for a hasty retreat, should the need arise. A bee heavy with honey is a calm bee, a reluctant stinger, its focus shifted from defense to preservation. Next comes his protective attire. In the medieval era, elaborate beekeeping suits were unknown. Instead, the beekeeper relied on layers of heavy cloth, often coarse linen or wool, to shield his skin. Thomas draws up a sturdy hood, perhaps stitched with a simple mesh over the face, or simply relying on several layers of cloth to provide a barrier. His hands, though calloused by years of work, are still vulnerable, so he dons thick, perhaps even padded, gloves made of cured leather or heavily woven fabric. These simple defenses are not foolproof, but they offer a crucial layer of protection, allowing him to work with a greater sense of calm and deliberation. Each piece is donned slowly, methodically, a preparation for the intimate interaction that is about to unfold. With his preparations complete, Thomas approaches his apiary. The air around the skeps is already alive with a soft, steady hum, the collective breath of thousands of tiny lives beginning their day. He moves with a quiet reverence, his steps light, his presence gentle. He understands that any sudden movement, any abrupt sound, could disrupt the delicate equilibrium of the colony. This is not a confrontation, but a conversation, conducted in the unspoken language of scent and vibration. He positions the smoker near the entrance of the first skep. With a slow, deliberate squeeze of the bellows, a plume of cool, fragrant smoke drifts into the hive's opening. He repeats this a few times, allowing the smoke to permeate the internal chambers, to gently envelop the bees within. The effect is immediate, though subtle. The agitated hum quietens, a collective ripple of recognition passing through the colony. The bees, perceiving a threat, instinctively turn their attention inward towards their precious honey stores. They begin to engorge themselves, filling their honey stomachs, preparing for the possibility of evacuation. With the colony calmed, Thomas now undertakes the delicate task of inspection. Unlike modern frame hives, where individual frames can be easily lifted out for examination, the skep required a more careful approach. The combs, built by the bees themselves, were often attached directly to the inner surface of the straw dome. To inspect, Thomas would carefully lift the skep from its base, sometimes using a simple wooden wedge to gently loosen it, revealing the bustling underside of the hive. The sounds remain subdued, a soft rustle, the occasional distant hum, but no frantic buzzing. His eyes, trained by years of observation, quickly scan the exposed cones. He looks for signs of a healthy, vibrant colony. Are the bees numerous and active, yet calm? Are there ample stores of capped honey, indicating a successful foraging season? Are the brood cells the hexagonal nurseries for the young bees teeming with larvae and pupae in various stages of development, a testament to the queen's fertility? He looks for the unmistakable rhythmic pattern of healthy brood, a vital sign of the queen's presence and vigor. An absence of brood, or an irregular pattern, would be cause for quiet concern. He might search for the queen herself, though her presence is often inferred rather than directly observed. Her steady, unassuming movement, her slightly larger size, set her apart. But more importantly, her work, the consistent laying of eggs in neat, concentric patterns, speaks volumes of her health and the future prosperity of the colony. He also checks for any signs of disease, though his knowledge would be based on observation rather than scientific understanding. Discolored larvae, unusual odors, or a general listlessness among the bees might signal trouble. This morning ritual is a silent dialogue, a subtle assessment, a brief yet profound moment of connection between the human caretaker and the intricate world within the skep. Satisfied with his observations, Thomas gently lowers the skep back onto its stand. The slight movement, the subtle shift, is barely perceptible, yet he feels the weight of the hive, the pulse of its life. This morning inspection is not a disturbance, but a check-in, a reassuring presence, a silent promise of continued care. With the first hive attended to, he moves to the next, repeating the calm, methodical ritual, a quiet ballet performed between man and insect, under the soft, gentle light of the awakening medieval day. As the morning gives way to the gentle warmth of midday, the true work of the honeybee begins in earnest. The air around the apiary, and indeed across the entire landscape, fills with a steady, soothing hum, the collective symphony of thousands of tiny wings, each one beating with purpose. This is the sound of foraging, the relentless pursuit of nature's liquid gold and the vital protein it carries. Each bee is a tireless collector, a miniature marvel of efficiency. Its delicate proboscis, a slender, flexible straw, delves deep into the heart of the blossom, drawing forth the sweet nectar. This precious fluid, a complex mixture of sugars and water, is stored in a special honey stomach, distinct from the bee's digestive stomach. Upon returning to the hive, this nectar will be meticulously transformed through a process of evaporation and enzymatic action into the rich, viscous substance we know as honey. But nectar is only half of the story. As the bee gathers nectar, it also collects pollen, the vibrant dust of life that adheres to its fuzzy body. With remarkable dexterity, the bee brushes this pollen into specialized structures on its hind legs, known as pollen baskets or corbiculae. This pollen, rich in protein, fats, vitamins, and minerals, is the essential food source for the growing larvae and young bees within the hive. Without pollen, the colony cannot grow, cannot thrive. Thomas, like all good medieval beekeepers, understood that his livelihood depended entirely on the health and abundance of what was known as the bee pasture. It was not enough to simply keep bees. One had to ensure they had a bountiful source of sustenance. While the wider fields and forests provided much, a dedicated beekeeper would also cultivate specific plants close to the apiary, plants known to be particularly attractive to bees. Willow trees, with their early spring catkins, provided vital sustenance when other sources were scarce. Later in the season, the vibrant purple of wild thyme, the delicate blue of borage, and the cheerful yellow of wild mustard would blanket the fields, offering a feast for the foraging bees. Fruit trees, when in blossom, also contributed significantly to the nectar flow. Thomas might spend part of his midday tending to these crucial sources, ensuring a continuous supply of floral treasures. quietly contributing to the well-being of his colonies without direct interaction. Within the darkness of the skep, shielded from our direct gaze, lies a society of astonishing complexity and profound harmony. The honeybee colony is a superorganism, each individual playing a precise role, contributing to the greater good of the whole. At its heart is the queen, the single mother of the entire colony. Her life's sole purpose is to lay eggs, to ensure the continuation and prosperity of the hive. She moves with quiet dignity, attended by her devoted retinue of worker bees who feed and groom her, carrying away her waste, a testament to her irreplaceable role. The vast majority of the colony are the worker bees' sterile females, whose lives are a ceaseless cycle of labor. Their tasks evolve as they age, starting as nurse bees tending to the hungry larvae, graduating to house bees, cleaning building wax comb and processing nectar into honey, becoming guard bees, protecting the hive entrance, and finally, in the latter part of their short lives, transforming into foragers, venturing out into the world to collect nectar, pollen, water, and propolis. Each role is vital, each action synchronized, a living example of perfect, selfless cooperation. Then there are the drones, the male bees, larger and sturdier than the workers. Their purpose is singular, to mate with a new queen from another colony. They do not forage, they do not build, they do not tend to the young. Their existence is one of quiet waiting, a testament to the hive's foresight in ensuring genetic diversity. When the foraging season wanes and resources become scarce, the drones, having fulfilled their potential purpose, are often expelled from the hive, a stark reminder of nature's efficiency. This intricate social structure, this silent ballet of purpose and cooperation, unfolds ceaselessly within each skep. Thomas understands that his role is to foster this natural order, to provide the conditions for it to thrive. He is not a master, but a steward, deeply respectful of the wisdom inherent in the bee's ancient ways. The hum of the hive at midday is not just a sound. It is the living breath of this ancient, perfectly balanced community, a reminder of the quiet wonders hidden in plain sight. The midday sun, now at its zenith, casts a steady light upon the fields where the bees continue their diligent work. For Thomas, this tireless industry holds not just natural wonder, but profound practical value, underpinning many aspects of medieval life. Honey, as we touched upon earlier, was the very essence of sweetness in an age before refined sugar became widely accessible. It was not merely a luxury. It was a staple, gracing the tables of both lord and peasant, albeit in differing quantities. It found its way into countless dishes, enriching stews, sweetening baked goods, and preserving fruits. Imagine a simple medieval oat porridge, transformed by a spoonful of rich, golden honey or a spiced ginger cake, its flavor deepened by this natural sweetener. Beyond the kitchen, honey was the indispensable ingredient for mead, the revered fermented honey wine. This golden elixir, often spiced with herbs and fruits, was a drink of conviviality, celebration, and spiritual significance. The brewing of mead was a painstaking process, but the resulting beverage was prized for its warming properties and its gentle, enduring sweetness. Yet, honey's utility extended far beyond the culinary. Its medicinal properties were highly esteemed. Ancient texts and folk wisdom alike attested to its antibacterial and antiseptic qualities. It was used to dress wounds, to soothe sore throats, to ease digestive complaints, and as a general tonic for strengthening the body. A simple cough syrup might consist of honey infused with herbs, a testament to its gentle efficacy. It was a readily available and widely trusted remedy in a world without modern pharmaceuticals, a gift from nature to alleviate suffering. And then there was beeswax. If honey was the sweet sustenance, beeswax was the silent illuminator. Unlike tallow candles made from animal fat, which often sputtered, smoked, and gave off an unpleasant odor, beeswax candles burned cleanly, steadily, and with a fragrant, almost sacred aroma. They were indispensable in churches and monasteries, where their pure light symbolized divine presence. In homes, they provided a superior form of illumination, extending the day, allowing for quiet work or study long after sunset. The steady, comforting glow of a beeswax candle was a beacon of warmth and light in the medieval night. Beyond illumination, beeswax found countless other applications. It was used in crafting, as a lubricant for tools and wooden parts, as a polish for furniture, and even as a protective coating for parchment and leather. Scribes might use it to prepare their writing surfaces, and artists might employ it in tempera paints. It was also vital for sealing letters and documents, providing a reliable and distinctive mark of authenticity. Thomas understood that every drop of honey, every sliver of wax represented not just the labor of his bees, but a tangible connection to the broader rhythm of medieval life, contributing silently to the comfort, health, and spirit of his community. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent, painting the landscape in longer, softer shadows, Thomas begins to consider the season's bounty. The decision to harvest honey from a skep was not one taken lightly. It required a deep understanding of the colony's well-being and the natural rhythms of the year. The primary aim of any responsible beekeeper was to ensure the bees had enough honey stores to survive the harsh months of winter. Taking too much would condemn the colony to starvation. Taking too little would mean wasted effort and missed opportunity. The main honey flow, the period of most abundant nectar collection, typically occurred during late spring and summer, peaking with the blossoming of key forage plants. Thomas would observe the intensity of foraging, the weight of his skeps, a heavy skep signaling a rich store of honey, and the general health of his bees. He would also consider the time of year. Harvesting too late would leave insufficient time for the bees to replenish their stores for winter. Harvesting too early might mean missing out on the full richness of the season's yield. It was a delicate balance, a quiet negotiation with nature. The optimal time was often late summer or early autumn. After the main nectar flows had ceased, but before the bees began their intensive preparations for winter cluster. Thomas's decision was based on years of inherited wisdom, subtle cues from the environment, and a profound respect for his buzzing charges. He carried this silent responsibility with a calm deliberation, understanding that the health of his hives was paramount. Once a skep was chosen for harvest, the next step was to gently persuade the bees to move from the honey-filled upper portion of their comb into an empty skep placed below. This process, known as driving or drumming, was a fascinating and largely non-harmful method, a testament to the beekeeper's ingenuity. Thomas would carefully lift the chosen skep, often separating it from its base, and place an empty, inverted skep directly on top, ensuring a tight seal. Then, with quiet persistence, he would begin to gently tap or drum on the sides of the lower, honey-filled skep. The rhythmic tapping, a series of soft, dull thuds, would create a vibration that encouraged the bees to slowly, steadily ascend into the upper, empty skep. It was not a violent shaking, but a persistent, gentle vibration, a patient coaxing rather than a forceful eviction. The queen, along with the vast majority of the worker bees, would gradually move upwards, drawn by the instinct to escape the disturbance, leaving behind the heavy combs of honey and pollen. This patient process could take a good while, perhaps an hour or more, depending on the size and temperament of the colony. But Thomas understood that rushing would only agitate the bees and risk unnecessary stings. Once he sensed that most of the bees, and critically, the queen, had ascended into the upper skep, he would carefully separate the two. The empty skep, now housing the majority of the colony, would be placed back in the apiary. The lower skep, heavy with its golden treasure, was now ready for the actual harvest. With the skep mostly clear of bees, Thomas would then begin the delicate process of removing the honeycombs. A sharp, simple knife was often all that was needed. He would carefully cut the sections of comb directly from the interior walls of the skep. These combs were a marvel of natural architecture, a hexagonal labyrinth of stored sweetness, each cell a perfect vessel for the rich honey. The aroma of warm wax and fresh honey would fill the air, a scent of pure abundance. The removed combs, heavy and fragrant, would be carefully placed into a clean earthenware pot or a sturdy wooden vat. Unlike modern beekeeping, which often uses centrifugal extractors to spin the honey out of the combs, medieval methods were simpler, more direct, and often involved the destruction of the comb, a necessary sacrifice for the honey, though the wax itself was also valuable. To separate the honey from the wax, the combs would often be gently crushed. Thomas would use his clean hands, or perhaps a simple wooden masher, to break open the delicate hexagonal cells, releasing the viscous golden liquid within. The honey, thick and warm, would slowly seep out, carrying with it the subtle flavors of the myriad blossoms from which it was gathered. This was a slow process, requiring patience as gravity did its work, allowing the honey to gently flow. Once the bulk of the honey had been released, it would then be strained through a piece of clean, coarse linen or a fine sieve. This removed any remaining bits of wax, propolis, or stray bee parts, ensuring a pure, clear product. The resulting liquid, ranging in color from pale gold to deep amber, depending on the flowers visited by the bees, was then carefully poured into earthenware jars, glazed pots, or small wooden barrels. These vessels would be sealed to preserve the honey's freshness, ready for storage in a cool, dark larder or for transport to market. Each jar represented a season's worth of tireless labor, both by bee and by beekeeper. It was a tangible form of wealth, a concentrated essence of summer's warmth, meticulously preserved for the leaner months ahead. The process was unhurried, reflecting the steady rhythm of nature, a testament to the medieval appreciation for raw, unadulterated bounty. Even after the honey was extracted, the remaining beeswax was far too valuable to simply discard. This golden aromatic wax held its own distinct worth, arguably as significant as the honey itself in some aspects of medieval life. Thomas would carefully gather all the remnants of the crushed comb. This raw wax, still containing impurities, would then undergo its own gentle transformation. The wax would be slowly melted in a cauldron or pot over a very low, controlled heat. Care was taken not to burn it, as this would diminish its quality. As it melted, impurities, bits of propolis, pollen, or cocoons would float to the surface. This molten wax would then be strained, perhaps through a fine linen cloth or a sieve, a process repeated several times to ensure its purity. Once clean, the clear, golden liquid wax would be poured into molds, simple wooden blocks, clay dishes, or even just shallow depressions in the ground to cool and solidify into convenient blocks or cakes. These beeswax blocks, fragrant and smooth, were now ready for their myriad uses, from illuminating the darkest nights to sealing the most important documents. The afternoon harvest was more than just gathering food. It was a testament to the efficient ingenuity of nature and the patient wisdom of the beekeeper. It was a cycle of giving and receiving, ensuring sustenance and light for the community, while always mindful of the delicate balance within the hives themselves. The air, still carrying the faint scent of honey, would begin to cool, signaling the nearing end of the beekeeper's active day, bringing with it a profound sense of quiet satisfaction. As the golden hues of late afternoon surrender to the deepening twilight, and the air begins to take on the crisp coolness of evening, Thomas embarks upon his final, quiet duties. The intensity of the day's labor, particularly the careful work of the harvest, begins to recede, replaced by a gentle transition into rest. His steps are slow and measured as he makes his final rounds through the apiary, a silent farewell to his buzzing charges before the cloak of night fully descends. He checks each skep, ensuring its stability, listening to the fading hum within. Are they settled? Is there any sign of disturbance? For the medieval beekeeper, protection from the elements and from potential predators was a constant concern. While large animals were less of a threat to a sturdy skep, smaller creatures, mice, shrews, even certain birds, could attempt to raid a hive, especially as the colder months approached. Thomas might ensure that the entrance holes were not too large, or perhaps place a protective stone or a small branch nearby to deter unwanted visitors. The bees themselves, having completed their last forays for the day, would now be clustering inside, preparing for the night's cooler temperatures. Their frantic midday activity gives way to a quiet, collective huddle, conserving warmth and energy. Thomas's presence is one of quiet reassurance, a final guardianship. He ensures that their home is secure, that their day's labor is protected, ready for the cycle to begin anew with the next dawn. With his duties in the apiary complete, Thomas retreats to the quiet sanctuary of his cottage. The air within is warm, carrying the gentle scent of wood smoke from the hearth and a lingering faint sweetness from the honey harvest. The harshness of the day's light has softened, replaced by the gentle, comforting glow of a beeswax candle, a direct gift from his industrious bees, casting long dancing shadows upon the walls. His evening meal is a simple affair, a testament to the unadorned sustenance of medieval life. Perhaps a hearty portion of bread, baked with his own grain, or a bowl of warming pottage. And inevitably, alongside it, a small earthenware pot of the golden honey he had gathered that very afternoon. He might spoon a generous dollop onto his bread, or stir its sweetness into his porridge, a silent acknowledgement of the cycle he is so intimately a part of. This taste of pure, unadulterated sweetness is not just nourishment. It is the culmination of his day's efforts, the direct reward for his patient stewardship. After his meal, Thomas settles by the gentle warmth of his hearth. There is no rush, no pressing engagements in the medieval night, only the quiet contemplation of the day's work and the anticipation of tomorrow. His thoughts might drift to the myriad unseen processes unfolding in the darkness outside, the silent growth of the forest, the slow turning of the constellations, and the quiet, collective breathing of his bees, nestled safely within their skeps. The simple act of living, of providing, of existing in harmony with the natural world, fills these quiet moments with a profound, unspoken contentment. The sounds of the medieval night are distinct, untainted by the cacophony of the modern world. The soft murmur of the wind through the trees, the distant hoot of an owl on the hunt, the gentle chorus of crickets. These are the lullabies of an age long past, yet their echo still resonates within the human heart. From within the dark husks of the skeps, a faint, consistent hum might still be heard, the gentle exhalation of a sleeping colony, a living pulse within the quietude of the night. This soft, rhythmic sound is a reminder of the continuous life cycle, the unending dedication of nature's smallest workers, even in their slumber. And so, a day in the life of a medieval beekeeper draws to its peaceful close. It is a life deeply attuned to the delicate balance of the seasons, to the silent wisdom of the natural world, and to the tireless, unspoken partnership with the humble honeybee. Thomas, our quiet guardian, embodies a way of living that honored patience, respected natural rhythms, and found profound satisfaction in the simple act of cultivation and care. His world was governed by these cycles, by the sun's gentle ascent and descent, by the blossoming and fading of the flowers, and by the ceaseless, quiet hum of his beloved bees. As the moon arcs silently across the heavens, and the world prepares once more for the gentle dawn, we leave Thomas and his bees in their peaceful slumber. May the quiet hum of their ancient industry drift into your own dreams, carrying with it the peace of the past, the sweetness of nature, and the gentle promise of rest. Good night.